Okay. You're on mute. There you go.
There.
Yeah.
Important. Otherwise, I sound like look really wise, but I don't say anything. Good morning. So there's a couple of items on the agenda, so I'll just kind of run through those real quick. So first up is our school site council. We have an election that was originally supposed to be this week, but given the national election, I thought people were probably elected out and would probably ignore it. So went ahead and pushed it off until this week. So that's going to actually go out tonight. Todd is on a 2-year elected for his position last year, so he's actually not up for re-election until next year. So he's still sitting there. But we have 3, and as of about 15 minutes ago, we have 3 candidates. So that'll make things nice and easy. We still could use an alternate. So if anyone else is interested in school site council, please let me know. We'll jump it on the election on the ballot if somebody lets me know today. If not, they can just show up to the first school site council meeting, which will be made available and open to the public, but only the elected parents will have the opportunity to vote, and kind of typical in those kinds of things. Our first meeting will be, Todd, can I share my screen? Have you given me that ability?
Go ahead.
So this will be the ballot that's going out tonight, and the reason that I was looking at it was I couldn't remember when the next meeting is. So it's actually scheduled for November 20th at 3 o'clock. So it'll be, so tonight the ballot will go out. I'll send out who won next Friday, and then the Friday after that will be the meeting. We'll go ahead and do officers elections then, and we'll look at our SIPSA from last year. We'll make some changes. Here are the parents that are currently running. Like I said, if there's anybody else, we still have a position.
Leslie should be on there too, I believe.
Who should be on there?
Leslie McMurray.
Leslie should be on there? Oh, good. Okay.
Yep. So you'll go back and...
I'll have to figure out how to go back and do that. So
yeah.
So I'll add that. Let me write that down so I don't forget. Okay. The other thing that's going on is that CIF is allowing us to return to having some sports very soon. The volleyball and cross country team starts in about a month, about 3 weeks. Some of the coaches are doing some practice virtually, or practicing kind of with pods. So taking just a few kids out to run at a time, that kind of thing. The starts in about, like I said, the season start in about 3 weeks time. There's still a little bit of room for students that are interested, especially in cross country. If your children or kids that want to be part of cross country or volleyball for that matter, go ahead and have them email Coach Hindy or myself. We can get them set up. I also want to thank some of the students that were involved in the Bonsall Haunted Hallows haunted house for over last weekend. Brendan Camps, Naya Mix, Brianna Horner, Nate Ortizo, Jacob Klein, Michael Lewis, Dakota Thompson, Kylie Neferret, Caitlin Rickman, Melissa Moran, Chris Sorellis, Ariana Johnson, all helped with putting together that event. And together they raised $7,500 for a family that has a young person that's suffering with leukemia. So it was great that those kids could be out there. The sponsor for that, Jeff, wanted me to just go ahead and mention Nia Mix, Ariana Johnson, and Dakota Thompson as MVPs, that they worked very, very hard. They were there almost every day, doing everything that needed to be done to put that event together. So thank you, students, for coming together for that. That event was a great success. It was actually named one of the best haunts of San Diego County this year. So, and there are some great haunts in San Diego County, so that's important. Kind of on that same note, just because of COVID and how difficult it's been for students to find good community service opportunities, just making, kind of, this has already been said, but I'll say it again, that we have reduced the graduation requirement for community service by 30 hours for the class of 2021. So those students only need 90 hours. We kind of figure everybody else probably will have an opportunity to pick up that time, but if we need to adjust going forward, we're open to that. But for this year's graduating class, the requirement is 90 hours, not 120 hours. I will say though that getting as much community service hours as you can is very, very important. The UCs have, since they're not requiring an ACT, SAT component of their application this year, they're looking for candidates that have done a lot of stuff. So people that have been part of sports clubs, community organizations, and kids that do a lot of community service are going to shine in those applications. So doing as much community service as you possibly can is going to continue to be important. Also kind of on that same thing, but more for parents, the Paula Learning Center has a need for, I still share, sure. Has a need for adult volunteers to kind of help out. They're doing a lot with the kids out at Paula. They're basically open from 7 in the morning until 4 o'clock every afternoon, working with kids that need help on distance learning or just need tutoring or need whatever out there. They've hired several tutors to actually run the different programs. Several different people are coming out there, but they really need just adults to help with supervision. So if you're interested at all, please call Doretta Music. She's the director out there. On the screen there's her number, 760-742-1997, and there's her email address. She said that they need the most help on, hope I get this right, on Mondays and Wednesdays. That seems like that's their busiest times, especially Monday, Wednesdays mornings. So if anybody has that time free, please reach out to her, but I think they could really use help anytime in that window. They're getting, a couple of hundred kids some days, and they're trying to juggle that with 6 and 8 people out there, and sometimes that's real hard. So any help they can get would be appreciated by them. And I know that's a little bit of a trek out there for a lot of people, but if you haven't been out to Paula, it's a beautiful community. It's great to get to know our neighbors out there, and it's a great opportunity for everybody to kind of stretch out some arms to our neighbors out there at the Paula tribe. I can't think what else was on our agenda.
Can I ask a quick question about that?
Please.
So what kind of activities would parents be doing with the students? I mean, just so, we can kind of prepare.
I think a lot of it would be like simple kind of tutoring pieces.
Okay.
So a lot with the younger kids, helping them out with their math homework, their English homework, that kind of thing. But a lot of it would be just, okay, when the kids get a break, standing around outside and watching them, do whatever it is they're doing out there for their break time, and just kind of crowd control stuff. And I've been out there a couple times, and they've done actually a great job with their COVID restrictions. They have everybody out there wears masks. Everybody, there's sanitizing stations all over the place. They have the kiosks that read people's temperatures as you come in and outdoors. They've done a great job out there. So it's one of those situations where, I get that during a pandemic, people don't want to stretch out, but they've tried to make it as safe as possible. So it's a good opportunity, like I said.
Great.
But mostly it would be light tutoring and just kind of babysitting, if that makes sense. Looking back kind of at what we said we were going to talk about. Help me out, Todd. What else was on the agenda for today? Oh, I know, the WASC visit. So if I can go ahead and share my screen one more time.
That's right, the WASC visit. And then the other thing was the SB 98 attendance policies and re-engagement planning.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
And progress report grade distribution.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me find. Okay, so first of all, let me thank all the parents that made themselves available for the parent committee to meet with the visiting committee. The meeting went, or the visit from WASC went extraordinarily well. They commended both the staff, the students, and the parents for clearly caring a lot about the school and for working very hard to improve the school. They identified a number of things that they thought we did extraordinarily well. I think a lot of it had to do with culture. A lot of it had to do with really having high expectations for the kids, for supporting kids and their college aspirations, finding ways to remediate students that come to us a little bit lower. Of course, they identified some of our problems as well. So I'll go ahead and roll through that real quick. Certainly they recognize our unique needs. We do have a very large student population with IEPs. We do certainly have students that come to us with different kinds of needs that are sort of diverse and unusual. And they shared that, the students who traditionally come from groups that don't really value education really seem to value their time.
Your audio is cutting in and out a little bit. I'm not sure why. I noticed you have your headphone on, but maybe if you can talk just a little bit louder, or maybe your microphone is being controlled on your computer. And sometimes that happens on Zoom. It ends up choosing the wrong audio source. So if you go to the little icon next to, well, I don't know if you can do it while you're presenting, but can you see the controls at the bottom?
Here we go. Is that better?
Yes.
All right, so go ahead and talk about the strengths of the school. So some of the strengths they talked about were the commitment to student success, especially social emotional success and growth of the students. That was a theme that they heard from students, they heard from teachers, they heard from parents. There is a culture of continuous inquiry by school staff in collecting, reviewing, and interpreting data to inform decision-making and growth priorities supporting student success. Parents are highly supportive of the school's mission and purpose and appreciate the school for its supportive environment for the kids. They recognize the growth in our relationship with the Paula tribe and the positive relationship we built over the last several years, and how that's really having an impact on the students from that community. And all of the various professional growth activities that we've done to really target individual student groups. They really recognize that we were among the first to really delve into and get trained in kind of the distance learning technologies. We were doing that in April and May, when a lot of schools really didn't start doing that until September, October. So we were a little ahead of the game on that one. And I think that was one of the things that they were really impressed by, as well as a lot of the trauma-informed care training that we did over the summer, recognizing how much trauma has been inherent in the COVID pandemic, people losing their jobs. Sometimes there's a loss of a family member. So having some of those skill sets on campus with our staff has been pretty valuable this year. And we went through some pretty significant professional development on that over the summer of about 40 hours. Continuing to expand our dual enrollment courses and opportunities through Palomar. One of the things that are very clear path to the Palomar through the Palomar Promise, and in order to help kids get their associates and or their certificates, was something that they talked about a lot in the report. Really just providing kids with just a little foot up over others. Continuing to develop that. I know Palomar is having some financial issues right now, but Palomar, because of our relationship with them, has really prioritized our needs. We're going to be able to roll out a couple of different classes very soon with Palomar next year when the pandemic requirements have ended somewhat. We've also started a few additional classes this year. I know a lot of your kids probably are in sociology. That's a great transferable, highly coveted class at Palomar because every kid wants to take that kind of as a freshman, sophomore in college, and we're able to kind of give kids that heads up on that, get started on that. Next year we'll have our next semester we'll be starting a new philosophy class that will help kids, and all of those things are A through G, IGETSI classes that are going to be able to help the kids get transferable into four-year universities. So that's important as well. Our in-school improvement plan, which the school site council helped to put together, is very data-driven, based on the unique needs of our student population, and we're working with the district to strengthen collaboration and get the resources that we need to continue to support our students. A couple of areas for follow-up. Continue to implement strategies to create safe and welcoming environment by building relationships and engage families, students, and staff. We're going to continue to increase our successes at exceeding math state standard compared with previous results, increasing by 2% growth in math and more than 0.5 over the rest of the district. Same situation in English language arts. We're going to continue to seek additional college and CT coursework to be able to, like I said, provide those pathways to college. And the other thing that was really kind of added by the staff was kind of the concern about our counseling situation, and continue to work with the district to find ways to support the academic and social emotional support services for our kids. Among those, maintaining our full-time counselor, and those of you that were at the last school board meeting saw that the board also values that, and we'll be getting Ms. Erin back full-time very soon, as well as all of the various programs and things that support that college and career readiness. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the kind of update on that area.
Can you send me that so I can include in the notes?
I will.
Okay.
I'll do that right after we're done here.
Thank you.
And I can actually send out the entire visiting committee report. And anybody that wants to see it, you're welcome to have a copy of that.
Great. Your audio is cutting out again. I think you just need to talk loud. Now that we're off screen, do you want to check that again? To make sure the mic is being used is the one on your, there's a little arrow next to the microphone icon, and it has an option to select a microphone when you click on it. We lost your video too.
There we go. Better. Testing.
It's not quite as loud. Huh.
Let's see. Better? Worse?
No.
Indifferent?
What does everyone else think? Is it better? I mean, it's not cutting in and out, but it's not as loud as it was.
I got nothing for you, Todd. I'm sorry.
Oh boy. We'll just have to listen really well, because I have my headphones on. I can turn them up, but I don't know if other people, if they're not wearing headphones, it might be a little hard. Let's hear from other people. Can they hear you? Can you hear Jason, Dr. Fowler, okay?
Not very well. Okay, I apologize for that. You know what? Let me just take these off. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah. You just need to be close to the built-in microphone when you do. Yeah. There you go. That's better. I can tell already. Go ahead and talk. Oh, now we can't hear you at all.
Is that better?
Yes.
Am I better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Better.
Fancy headphones so that I wouldn't cut in and out, and then it's worse. I don't understand. Technology. But yeah,
I can help you with that later. So there's probably a volume setting in your settings. So after the meeting's over, we can stay on and I can help you fix that. Don't worry about it now. Yeah.
It's actually turned up as much as I can get it, Todd. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll do it. We can do it after the meeting.
All right, well, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
All right, so there's that piece. Just grade distribution, I'll just kind of go over that real briefly. So I know that there's kind of published in some of the papers recently have been some grade distributions for distance learning. One thing that I've noticed is that if you look at kind of a normative curve for grades, we've never really fit very well into a normative curve. We kind of have a two humped curve, if you will, that sort of have the most folks kind of falling into that high B range, and then another kind of secondary hump that sort of falls into the C minus range. Not a lot of folks kind of in that middle area, not a lot of folks on either end. That's kind of been our normative distribution over the last 4 years. This year, we are kind of we look more like a normative curve. We have a whole lot of kids in distance learning that are doing awesome. So we had an increase of about 5% of kids that got A's, and we increased our D's and F's by about 7-8%. And so there was definitely some kids that did worse with distance learning. I mean, I don't think that should come as a surprise to anybody, but we also had some kids that hadn't done so well in actual classes that have improved somewhat. A whole lot of kids that sort of either rose or fell to that C level. So that's, so that area was kind of where that ended up. The one thing I will say that's more anecdotal, though, I think that some of the kids that based on last year's progress report to this year, and first let me say this up front, progress reports, the first progress report of the school year is always the time when the most kids get F's and D's. It's that time of the year when there's really no teeth to the grade, if you will. It doesn't stick on your report card, but it's a good opportunity for teachers to send the message to kids that, hey, Danger Will Robinson, you need to get your grades up. You need to take care of what you need to take care of, so that by the time you get to the grades that come at the end of the semester, they're where they need to be. So a lot of times the grades here are a little bit lower than you might expect to see at a semester grade. I mean, that's the trend for probably time immemorial at every school everywhere. So there's usually a lot more F's during the first progress report of the year than any other time. That's the reality. So we saw that again, but what I will say is anecdotally, there are some kids who fell into that F category at a much lower rate than what would be expected. So a lot of times last year, the typical F score was something, 50, 55%, something like that, right? Kind of right there below that D. We had a number of kids, not a lot, but for us a lot, that had like 12%, 6%, 3%, had very, very low Fs. So we didn't really see that at this point last year, or at least with the same population of kids. So definitely there's more to be done there, and that's one of the reasons that SB 98 is requiring that we put together a re-engagement plan for kids. And that's one of the reasons that I think it was so important that we started our in-person learning program again. And so finding those kids that are falling into those categories of the 12, 14, whatever percent, and getting them back in school, getting them the additional support they need, and finding as many things that we can to really support them. The staff has decided that we're going to spend a couple of evenings and afternoons a month. We're going to look for somewhere out at Arrowwood to be, so that we can be there as kind of a drop-in, call in some of these kids to that are having some of these issues, and really anybody that wants to come in for tutoring, some time to come in. We're going to do the same thing out at Paula, so that we'll make ourselves available on either end of the district, so for kids to come in and get help, whether they're in person or they're distance learning. And we'll have a schedule, we'll have the social distancing, we'll spread it out as best we can. But we need some kids just need the reminder. They need to re-engage with the teacher. They need to see the teacher in person again. They need the little kick in the pants that actually being with the teacher is going to bring to really get rolling again. As much as is possible, we're bringing those kids back and trying to get them in person. And we're also providing a couple of different opportunities. We have a new, what we're calling BB English, which is basically the same English that we're teaching in every other class, but we're taking the stuff that's on StudySync that's been kind of difficult for kids to engage with because of the nature of the interface more than a lot of things. And we're offering that in a little different way. So, so for some of the kids that aren't doing so well with English, we're pulling them into a different sort of kind of support English with a little different materials, taught in a little different way with a little different things. And that's for the distance learning kids. We're planning on doing more with our Friday symposiums for the kids that are not doing so well in grades. And we're looking at having maybe even an evening course, an evening in-person course for some kids that need some remediation in math like we've done in past years. So we're trying to do everything we can to kind of re-engage with those kids that have kind of fallen off the horse a little bit during distance learning, bringing them back as quickly as we can. Doing what we can with them as quickly as we can. And we have there's a list of probably 12 kids that we're meeting with, that we have, we're putting together real improvement plans for. And we're going to be dealing with each of those kids' situations individually. Some of those kids, it's more family related. So we're doing home visits, we're doing SARTs and SARBs. We're doing, those kinds of behind the scenes sort of educational legalese things to try to get them back in school and get them back engaged. And other people, it's academics. We just don't do well online. So we're finding ways to remediate that as best we can. So that's kind of the plan there. Going back to SB 98 a little bit, I just talked about the improvement plan that's required under SB 98. The attendance policies under SB 98 is an extraordinarily complex creature. When the state legislature decided to reopen schools, they wanted to make sure that they did it as equitably as they possibly could. They made sure that once schools were able to reopen, that kids that couldn't come back or whose parents didn't feel comfortable bringing them back to in person weren't kind of put under the gun or weren't given less than education. And so the attendance that SB 98 basically requires is students that are engaged in the online learning program. So if we see them on Zoom or Big Blue Button, they're considered to be distance learning engaged. Students that then complete their work, whether or not they showed up to the Big Blue Button or the Zoom meetings, they've done the work that was assigned for the day, they're considered engaged. And anyone that's in frequent contact with their teachers, that they're sending emails back and forth, they're texting, they can be going through their parent, or parents can be interacting with the teachers in either case, they're considered engaged. So engagement doesn't necessarily mean doing well as far as SB 98 goes, but it's basically taken the place of attendance. So if any of those three things are true, you're basically in attendance. So one of the things that we're asking kids to do, and this has been difficult for a lot of parents and kids to really get behind, is to log on to every class every day, whether or not you're assigned that particular class that day, just because there are always more support activities, there's videos, there's lectures, there's that kind of stuff happening. And that the kids can review. They can work on work kind of on homework asynchronously. They can do whatever they need to do, even if it's just a couple of minutes just to review the lecture, that kind of thing. That helps with the engagement. That helps with those strategies. That helps those kids get a little bit more successful. And that's kind of what the attendance policy requires. So I know a lot of folks got some phone calls for a while from attendance. That was during kind of the period that we were transitioning to this new attendance sort of policy that has to do more with engagement and that very large definition of what engagement means. I think that one of the conversations that we've had with the teachers is, okay, the kid's there, I see them on Zoom, they don't do nothing. But we're by ed code, we're basically terming them as engaged. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get a good grade. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're successful, but they are engaged, which you can read more as present. So that's kind of the weirdness of SB 98, and it's a huge document. I don't, unless somebody just somebody's a lawyer and wants to have some fun legalese reading, you can get that off the website. It's about 560 pages long. And a lot of it has to do with funding. There's about 9 little areas that have to do with attendance. There's some things that have to do with how distance learning has to be done. But it's it's great whenever lawmakers think they know school, and this is one of those situations. So we're doing the best we can with that. So one thing I know a lot of parents were complaining about was all the attendance phone calls where we're trying to get that kind of figured out. I'm hopeful that those have stopped or almost stopped. If they start up again, let me know. But I think we've got a handle on what the SB 98 attendance policies look like. Okay, so just kind of keeping you guys in the loop about that a little bit. I think that was it for my agenda items. Anything else? Any questions for me? Anybody?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Does the fact that we're close to the purple tier in San Diego County, will that affect anything about school or sports?
It may have an effect on sports if things get a lot worse.
Okay.
And really, once schools have restarted, it has more to do with like local outbreaks rather than county tiers.
That's what I thought about the school itself, but I wanted to just confirm that. And I'm sure that's a question other people probably have. So, yeah. So
what that means is, as long as, that we're not having any outbreaks on campus, as long as the community itself stays below a certain level and we're not become a kind of a super cluster, there's no reason to believe that we'll be closing anytime soon. I think that the strategy that we used to open was pretty strong. We've the kids have been absolutely amazing as far as following the rules, washing their hands, using the sanitizer, keeping their masks on, socially distancing. We had a fire drill yesterday, and the kids were walking around like, almost like they had their hands stretched out, 6 feet away from each other the whole time. And it's kind of amazing how well they're doing with that. But I think part of that was the preparation on our part. We've clearly delineated like the picnic tables, like when kids get lunch and end up sitting here, where they can sit, where they can't. We've spread our furniture out in our classrooms. Obviously, some of you guys helped out with that. There are barriers in certain places. There's an indoor, there's an outdoor. We have a staggered passing period, which I think has worked very well, although it really irritates my teachers sometimes because, you get like a third of the kids in the class and then you got to wait around for 6 minutes before the rest of them all arrive. And so it's kind of like, well, okay, hi, how y'all doing? There's like 4 of you here. What's going on? But I think that's, that way we are not having those group up. I know that early on when schools were returning, there were pictures of hundreds and hundreds of kids in hallways. And we haven't had that problem. We've been able to really keep, very small groups of kids moving around and been able to keep the social distancing. And I think the middle school has done a great job with that as well. So hopefully, hopefully we miss some of those outbreaks that some, schools in Vista and other things have been in the news lately. So, but, we don't have anywhere like their class sizes that they're trying to deal with. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest, but I think our plan was a stronger one.
Good. Glad to hear that. Does anybody else have any questions for Dr. Fowler?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody attended the Zoom meeting last night for Parks and Rec for Bonsall Park.
I did not.
From the elementary school. Well, the plan is it's more fitted for a very active park. And one of the things they talked about is it sounds like they're going to have a high school age baseball field, but they have an option for a high school age soccer field. But I would like to reach out to Nina Pisano, she's with the Parks and Rec Department, and kind of make that clear that we really want that. Just because not only could it serve adults who might be playing soccer in North County, but also our high school students for when that time comes, maybe when, anyway, so I just wanted to know if anybody else had seen that and if everybody's okay with me.
Go for it.
I'd love to do it as part of this is what the high school parents want. But I don't want to speak out of turn. So maybe I should just speak as one parent. But if I do that, then maybe I can send you the link to Nina Pisano.
And other parents can,
Parents can join in if they'd like to.
That's great. I think that's a great idea.
The plan is really cool though.
Yeah,
and
I saw the drawing.
Yeah, but I was on the early parts of that, so I've expressed some desires on behalf of the high school as well. So hopefully if everybody kind of pushes for some of those high school aged appropriate facilities, that will definitely help with our ability to do more and have more. Our current soccer team goes all the way to Fallbrook to play our home games, and it's worked great. I mean, but it has been inconvenient, and it would be nice, if we had something a little closer that we could utilize. And then once we have our school site council in place, maybe we can make that one of the things on the first meeting is sending something from that committee to Parks and Rec as well, with just a request. So that would probably be something that's appropriate.
And just so I'm clear, that would be a request for soccer as opposed to baseball?
Well,
There's
no.
the option. Okay, both.
So both, but it looks like she was pretty confident that there's 3 baseball fields.
Okay.
2 are, Y12 or something like that. And that the other one was, so that's already done. It's just, I really want to push for the soccer field.
I got you. Okay, thanks.
I'll send you everything.
All right, very good. Any other questions for Dr. Fowler? Okay, Joanna, you're up. Off mute.
Okay, sorry.
There we
there.
go.
So in ASB and leadership, we've pretty much been trying to figure out, like I mentioned last time, how we can get involved now that we are back on campus. There are students back on campus. So I was talking with Ms. Rojas, like maybe putting on like little events throughout the weeks or after Thanksgiving break, just kind of like get students back in that school spirit mindset and have them, be involved with school spirit. So what we were planning on doing is maybe like starting up in the mornings as like students are walking in, playing music, stuff like that, like just stuff that makes it feel more social, even though we are social distancing. And I know that a lot of the class councils are currently working on activities within each class council to have more participation as well. And currently, I believe our commissioner of activities, Zach Jordan, he is putting on a survivor game with his committee. And it's an online virtual game where pretty much there's going to be, it's a competition, and all the students are able to participate, and there's like prizes for that as well. So we're using technology as much as we can to pretty much just get the students involved. But now that we are back on campus, we're trying to see how we can incorporate being on campus safely through all the regulations. But that's pretty much all we have for now.
All right, thanks, Joanna. Jennifer, do you want to report on the Bonsall Education Foundation, please?
Sure. I'm just going to kind of repeat what I said last month. You know, this year, obviously very different. We are not planning on hosting any events. We are not having any after school enrichment vendors on campus, although we are, the vendors that we were working with, they are sending us flyers. We're sending those out to the principals for them to peach jar. That's Kids College, Fit Kids, Sing and Speak Spanish, and a master class for Taekwondo, because they're obviously small businesses and they're suffering. So, and they're doing Zoom classes, even the Taekwondo, Master Kim, who I just found out is actually the UCSD head coach for Taekwondo. So he's got some gravitas there. If anybody's interested, they can go onto our website, bonsallschools.org. We've got our Support Our Scholars program happening, where you can still donate money to the schools. You know, that campaign is obviously, we're not pushing it really big because it's just a different kind of a year, but those funds do go to the schools. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Fowler, the high school still has some funds from last year. And I know Bonsall West has been using some of their funds. Sullivan Middle School used all of their funds last year. Bonsall Elementary has school funds available. So go ahead, sorry.
No, I think you're right. And I know that we've been talking with Coach Hindi about putting some of those funds together to assist him with, there are part of the sports requirements is there's some things that we just don't have to be able to come back safely. So we might tap some of that money to get some of those things.
Okay, well, just let us know. We do have a meeting next week. We've been doing Zoom meetings, but it's only been board members. And then we're off in December. And then we'll come back January 5th. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. All right, I don't have anything else for our meeting for today unless people have questions or want to share successes with your students or things you're noticing. So please, anyone that would like to comment. Okay, I guess that's it.
May I make one comment?
Sure.
I would just like to tip my hat to Joanna. This young woman is thoughtful, hardworking, dedicated, not only here, but about a month ago went through In and Out, and there she is working hard there too. And I'm just very impressed with, you know, you're a dedicated community servant. And I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I try to like be responsible. Obviously, I don't try to put anything above everything else, but I'm really like excited for our school, and I really want it to improve and see like a lot of change. So thank you for noticing that.
I appreciate your outlook. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Joanna. It's awesome. All right, thank you, everyone. I'll make this video recording available to the rest of the Ping parents as soon as I can. Plan to do that today and compile the notes and send it out to everybody. So please, Jason, Dr. Fowler, send me I know you put it in your notes, so I'll get that and I'll incorporate the WASP report.
You should have it already.
Oh, terrific. All right, thanks a lot. All right, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.